Okay, this video is for docs who want to know how to navigate change. So in healthcare, the one constant is change, right? It's just a given. We know we're going to deal with change. And the good thing is there are three ways that docs are good at change. All right, so let's go over that. All right, we talk about agility, professional agility, just navigating change. We're going to go into this a little bit. All right. All right. So three ways that we're good at change. Number one, we are learn-it-alls. We're going to talk about a gentleman by the name of Satya Nadella. He is the CEO of Microsoft, and he talks about changing the culture of Microsoft when he got there years ago. And he wanted to acknowledge that we're all learners, and if everyone felt like they could learn something, that it would change the whole culture. So it was really neat what he did, and financially, it really benefited the company. So we want to be a learn-it-all, and we're good at this. So the docs, number one, we're good at learning. So this is good. So it's even in business, we can see that being a learn-it-all is really important financially and otherwise to navigate change in healthcare. Okay. So we want to be number one, to learn it all, which we are. We love learning anyway. Number two, we want to stay agile. How do we build our agility? We'll talk about that. And then how do we deal with resistance? We're going to talk about that. I'm going to share a book I loved, and a TED Talk that just like blew my mind. That was just made so much sense of resistance. So let's talk about these things. Okay. So professional agility. When do we need that? Every day, right? So every day we need to change or navigate. Can you say how many days you went to work and everything was exactly the same? It just doesn't happen, right? Like things always change. And so we have to think about when do we need to change, how to influence change, how to navigate change, how to, realize when we're resistant to change. And so all of these things are really important. We have to know when we need to change, first of all, and what can help us stay agile. Well, there's actually a new term called AQ, agility quotient. It's a combination of your IQ and your EQ. It's how we navigate, how professionally aware we are, how personally aware we are, how aware we are of what's happening in the room, how many skills we have. Of course, again, back to the learning. So we can talk about that a little bit. So agile change needs a few things. We need to know the purpose. Why are we changing? What matters right now? Why is this change today important for us as a team, as an institution, as a clinic, depending on who you're changing with. So we need to know the purpose of the change. What's the process of change? How is this going to go? What's the result we're after? We need clarity, right? So if you want us to put our time and energy and focus towards something, we need the leader, or if you're the leader, we need you to define those things, right? So what's the purpose of change? What's the process of change? And what is the result that we're after, right? Okay, so back to Mr. Satya Nadella. So he is the CEO of Microsoft. His mission was strategy, finance, operations. But when he looked around at Microsoft, he saw that they weren't very professionally agile. They couldn't change very easily. They were stuck in systems and they had adopted, they could not change the systems. But he wanted them to have an adaptability. He wanted them to feel okay changing. He knew that was really important for their future of the company, and he wanted to transform them and make the operations more efficient. So the goal was translations to change, to use change to translate, to change what they're doing at all levels. It wasn't just the C-suite, the top folks. It was all levels. He wanted them to feel like they could change, they could adapt, they could transform, and in an efficient way. And so that's what he decided was really important to the company when he got there. And financially, it just really has worked for the company. This is Microsoft. Okay. So when do we change? When should that happen? We don't want utter chaos, right? Things should not always be changing. But we want a culture of learning that people are willing to look at data, what worked, what didn't work, and learn from their experiences. Some might say they're mistakes, but really you want to make sure that we're learning from our data, that we're looking at the data, right? And that we are seeing what's working. We're not wasting anyone's time on our team. So signs to change, signs that it looks like it's time to change. You need a fresh start somewhere. Like things are just stale and old and only the same way. You need a fresh start. you have pain points, like something isn't going well, like the customer, if you want to say the patient in healthcare is giving you consistent feedback that something's not working, or the competition has figured something out and you need to figure that out as well. And a relevance. You want to be relevant today. We can't keep doing the same old things. There's new ways of doing things. There are new things. And so we have to make sure we stay relevant, right? And so for those reasons, those are some signs we may need to change. We need a fresh start. We have lots of pain points. Things are frustrating for many levels of our teams. The competition has figured this out. We need to join them or beat them. And there's a relevance in the marketplace that we want to be the ones that is, leading the way, right? And so there's a range of things, right? We can be static, we're always staying the same, or change, or it could be chaos. So there's this range, and so change, we're always somewhere in the middle. We want to know where we are, but again, back to the process, the purpose, most importantly, why do we want to change? And then the result. So we know because how can we even plan a change if we don't even know where we want to get to, right? So how do we, as a woman doc, influence change? I had a doc come to me recently, and of course, I won't say her name, but she is getting frustrated. She keeps suggesting things, and her higher ups are saying, no, 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 no. And she keeps suggesting. And I just encouraged her, keep going. Like you can see things other people can't. Someone else, another doc had told me who had a really high level of leadership where I work. She said sometimes you have to show them how it can be. Like they can't see it. You're the visionary. So sometimes you have to acknowledge that you see a solution to something and other people just don't see it yet. You have to map it out for them. And I like to do that in Brain Fresh. I like to map it out, that neuroscience and the neuroscience of professional development can shine a light on our career journey and make it more fun and focused and supported and impactful. And so I think the answers are out there. I like to shine a light on these resources for women docs because I feel like so often we're told, like, you figured this out. This is on you. Where indeed a lot of the research we have the resources out there. We don't have to do this ourselves. And so let's learn also from the business teams that have figured out how to change. And so this doc that came to me was super frustrated. First of all, this other doc who was very experienced said, we have to map it out for them. We have to show it what it could look like. And don't forget that power that you have, that sometimes you see something that other people's do not see. You might have that ability to envision something or see the strategy, see the high level. I'm more a high level thinker than the details. So it's harder for me to get all the details in, but I like the high level. And so everybody has their gifts and strengths. That's the whole thing about our connectome, how our brain is connected. Do you need to be reminded how amazing your brain is? Yes, this is my crocheted brain my daughter made for me. How cute is that? I don't have the pattern. Somebody asked me if I had the pattern. They wanted to make it. She couldn't find the pattern, so I guess just Google it. But this is the best. Anyway, we all have our own connectome, our own brain with our own set of skills. So acknowledge your own skills when you are the change maker. Maybe you're the visionary, maybe you're the detail person. You're like, what? We know the purpose and we know the process, but you need like all the steps in between. Maybe you're that person, you're the detail person. I need you because I'm not a detail person. I had to work hard on that and get a coach on that because that was not my strong point. But I like to build off strong points. I do that with my coachees. When they're building their business, I help docs build their own business and dream it up and build it and get it going. Because I like the high level, but then we also need to implement. We need those steps, and so we need everybody's strengths. Depending on what your connectome is, how your brain is connected. Things are easier for you than for not everybody has those same skills that you have. So remember that you may be the visionary of change. You may see it, and you're getting a lot of no's from people. You may have to map it out for them, make it easier for them to see it because they can't see the process. They can't see the roadmap. And that's okay. Some visionaries, like you keep trying and trying and trying. But you also want to put people around you that can support you in your growth. And then you need a accountability group is what I built in Brain Fresh. And now I have a group called Fresh Path MD, where we have a membership and the first level is free. So just join us if you want to just be around people that are just kind of women docs that are just kind of learning, acknowledging that we like to grow, we like to learn, we like to change, we like to stay agile. We don't, stagnant feels not good. Um, and that being said, like sometimes you are in the season of winter with your growth. Like you're not there, you're gathering resources, but you're not taking action. And that's okay. Everybody is in their own place. But just remember that it takes some courage, which in a neuroscience sense means you have to take a small action to show your brain that you can take these steps. And that's called long-term potentiation, right? That's that neuroplasticity that we can learn. We can all learn from actions, like what worked, what didn't work, right? So, how to influence change? We're going to look, this is what blew my mind when I heard this TED Talk by Dr. Susan Davis. Her book is called Emotional Agility. Highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And or just her TED Talk if you want, but she really suggests, and she has some really great quotes, like you don't get out of, you can't have dead person goals. Like dead person goals are like, I don't want discomfort. I don't want anything uncomfortable. I don't want negative emotions. She said those are dead person goals. Kind of harsh, but true, right? Very true. But really, what I loved is she talked about the resistance to change, the emotions that you have to acknowledge in your team when you want to change something. This was key, or even in your own self. If you want to change something, you have to acknowledge these emotions first. Okay. So, what are the resistance to change? You have to find them, first. So, will their identity change? Are they leaving a team? Like they were safe on a particular team, but maybe there's a new team because you propose this new change, and now everybody has to work with new people and they don't feel comfortable with them. So a lot of this goes back to psychological safety, what we need. We need to know that we're valued, that we know why we're on a particular team. We need to know that the people around us value our input, and we need to know what's the point of the team, right? So all of these things are super important. So there is resistance to change. Highly recommend her TED Talk, Dr. Susan Davis. She's South African, and she wrote a book called Emotional Agility. Really great. Watch the TED Talk first. You get a lot of it in the TED Talk. Okay. So we have to define resistance. We have to define those emotions that come when you want someone to change. Do they feel safe going on the new team? Do they know the point of the new team? Back to the whole agility change. The structures that you need in place is you need the purpose, the process, the result. You need to be clear, or else people don't feel clear on the plan, and there's like an anxiety that can come in, and there's an uncertainty, and then you're not getting people at their best level of thinking. They're not in their problem solving thinking until you address the resistance to change. Very important. Okay. So you define the resistance, you look at that growth mindset. You just remind people, like, hey, we're not there yet, but this is our goal. This is where we want to get to. We want to improve X system. We want to have this team, come up with X solution. And so maybe you even think of it like a challenge, like make it a little fun, make it like a little game, because you want to get your brain like settle down on the anxiety, the uncertainty part of it, and make it a psychologically safe place for them to give ideas, to share ideas, because maybe they're on a new team, right? And so you don't want to share things if you don't really know if people are going to make fun of you in the team, right? So how do we change? We use design, right? So we want to make sure like this is the problem, this is where we're trying to get to. What are the possibilities we could design a solution? And design means we don't know. We're going to try things, right? So you're going to try something, you're going to implement it, and then you're going to think about, did it work? You might iterate, you might change, right? And so it's okay to use kind of the engineering brain of design. You're going to think like, here's the problem. We're going to try something. We're going to look, and we might need to change it again a little bit because we've learned, right? And there's emotions in this cycle. Like we might have some ego in there. Like, this is my idea. I think it should work. I think we should keep it going for 30 years, So you want to make sure that the emotions are acknowledged, back to the resistance of change, right? So first you want to make sure your team has the right skills for change. You want to communicate, you want to connect with them, you want to focus, you want to take an action, you want the culture to be of change and acceptance and kindness and compassion and clear communication, and you want to collaborate. Like sometimes you can use other systems to put together almost like Legos. Like the answers are there, you just need to put them back together in a new way, right? So you want to use words like what if, remind them back of the purpose. What could this do for the community? What could this do for our team? What could this do for our clinic if we figure this out? Okay, go to the big picture and then back to the design phase. So you want to learn, you want to measure, try something, build it, iterate it, right? You want to connect maybe old systems together in a new way, focus on the process, iterate this culture of learning, be able to learn it all, just what Mr. Satya Nadella said, from the CEO of Microsoft. Okay, how do you stay agile? You have a vision, you have a strategy, you have an approach you're going to take, but you may iterate that, right? You may change it. That's the whole agility, is that you're going to try things, you're going to look at it, did it work? You might iterate it. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. Okay, so agility takes we have to be careful with our emotions, because our ego might keep us in something and say, like, we designed this, we don't want to change anything. But we have to be careful because we want to design on purpose. So the whole thing we started when we talked about agile change is, what is the purpose of this change? If we don't even know why we're changing, forget it. You're not going to get people solution brain engaged. You're not going to get their best frontal lobe ideas, their higher executive functioning, where they can take data and manipulate it and see patterns, unless they know the point of the project. Okay. So the purpose, the process, the result, have that a loose structure at the beginning, so you know where you're going. Have a kind, compassionate team that can share ideas. You're going to design on purpose, design for the purpose, right? You're going to set a vision. This is your vision. This is the purpose of this new thing. You're going to have a strategy, an approach to it. You're going to probably need to iterate, and that's okay to change, right? That's where that change is always going. That growth mindset is, we're going to try things, we're going to try hard. I mean, the growth part of the growth mindset is really doing your best, like putting a lot of energy toward a solution, but that might not be the final solution. You still need to iterate things, right? Okay. So those words like what if, what could be, you want those open questions to your team. Challenge them as a professional agility coach. Okay. So women docs, there's three ways we're really good at change. We're good at learning. We're agile because we have to change every day, because patients are different every day, right? Our situation at work is not the same every day, typically. And then we know how to navigate resistance. There's always new ways to learn, right? So go ahead and just think about joining my Fresh Path MD, my membership for women docs. We share resources, we grow together, we focus on what's important to us, we learn tools to focus, we build support in our own career growth, and then we figure out, where can we have an impact with your particular skills? What can you do? Sometimes that's a business. I do one-on-one business coaching for women docs. Sometimes that is, just even doing more or something very particular in your workplace, because you see where you can use your skills. And it's okay to want flexibility, to want growth. It's okay for that. I didn't see that it was okay. It's parts of my career journey, but that's why I built Brain Fresh, to show you there's a place where we can take time to think about being agile. We can do it together. It's a kind, fun place. I even gave courses on fun, because when we rate women docs on their fun kind of week to week, and fun is a good brain state. It's a non-judgmental, open-minded, with others, usually a physical thing. So fun is important too, guys. We're not saying when you're to be professionally agile, you shouldn't have fun, because if you want to put your brain in a good brain state, fun is a good way to do it. You're not typically, when you're not thinking of the problem, you think of ideas to solve it, right? So you have to kind of distract from your problem solving, go have fun, take a break. That's your recharge time, and then come back and try to solve the problem, right? All right. So put in the comments your favorite part of this video, your favorite tip. How are you going to stay professionally agile? Put agile in the comments. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you, and like and subscribe so you can keep getting some tips for women docs, to navigate this journey with neuroscience. Makes it a little bit more fun and easy. And then check out Fresh Path MD. That's my membership for women docs. All right. We got this, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.